Oh, hello, it is I, your boy Gomi. This video is going to be a little bit late because I actually just got home at the time of recording this, and it is the very next day, I suppose, when I do these in the ungodly hours of the night. But yes, normally I cut those a little bit short because it's very tired and I don't want to, be up at super late at night talk about these damn cards when they're usually poopy. But now I'm not going to go super in depth on this card because honestly, I always do these video titles where I say, is it trash? It's not actually, is it trash? I just say that. In terms of this card, kinda was. It probably was. This was not the best of card. I kind of predicted a lot of this. I predicted almost all of the card correct. By the way, if you watched my breakdown video, you would have known almost the entirety of this card. I was just wrong on 2 fights, right? Yeah, I was wrong on 2 fights. Ugh. But yes. Let's get into it briefly. I'll go in depth about the main event because it was the only one that deserves the in-depth walkthrough. But yes, first fight was Mitch Raposo versus Andre Lima. Andre Lima coming in 4 pounds heavy, and he puts on that performance where he didn't look all that great. Yes, he beat Mitch Raposo, but I do now a lot of people are contesting the split decision. I think it's fine. I'll be honest with you, neither guy did enough to really cinch it, and I knew Andre Lima won. But I'm not surprised that someone gave it to Mitch Raposo because it's very subjective when you're watching this. There's some things that are completely objective, but for fights like this, it was very subjective. You could say, oh, I think Mitch Raposo landed more damage. I think he was more eventful with his takedown. But then you could also say Andre Lima, he landed more shots and he was more inventive with his damage. It's hard to say, but yes. Andre Lima beats Mitch Raposo by decision. You're going to hear the word decision quite a bit. Not knockout on this card, which is disgusting. Aline Perez beats Jocelyn Edwards by unanimous decision. It went very similar how I thought. A lot more transitions. I thought there was a lot of reversals and transitions, but ultimately Aline Perez just won it with the wrestling advantage. Basil Hafez won against Mickey Gall, fighting, to be honest, like a dumbass. He really just went out there swinging hooks and fighting like a dum-dum. He was gassing out towards the end, and he doing his wrestling a little bit towards the end like I figured. Mickey Gall at the end of the day is just not as good as, not that good, unfortunately. He landed some power shots. He actually rocked Basil Hafez a few times, which is very impressive. But at the end of the day, Basil Hafez won by unanimous decision. He did not have the finishing caliber as I predicted. Jake Matthews versus Phil Rowe was a little bit surprising. Matthews beat Rowe by a decision though, which was not surprising, but he was able to throw more. Matthews was able to throw more. He threw some good hooks in between, but just Phil Rowe was too tough, too durable. He did land a few shots that hurt him really well, but it just ultimately ended up being actually volume which won Jake Matthews' fight rather than a specific grappling or clinch heavy style. Grant Dustin beat Joe Selecki in a decision win. Dana White said this was the worst fight of the night. I highly disagree. It was not a good fight. But blood was shed in this fight, and honestly, it was just a domination from Grant Dawson. Grant Dawson landed 77% of his 190 strikes, composed to Joe Selecki landing 77% of his 35 strikes. So yeah, they both landed the same amount of total strikes, but Dawson outlanded him by well over 100. 3 takedowns. Selecki really had that one guillotine, but that's it. That's really it. Other than that, complete domination by Grant Dawson. Now then, Jailton Almeida beats Alexander Romanov, first round submission. Why was this booted from the main card? Why did you boot this from the main card to put Morono versus Nico Price on the main card? What is wrong? Jailton Almeida had one bad fight against Derek Lewis where he lost by decision. Beyond that, he was still a ranked fighter on a 15-fight win streak. He has a 95% finish rate, probably 96% now. I can't do the math. Let's do the math. He has 21. He has 1 fight that went the distance. So let's see. Wait a minute. I can't do math. Wait, I am doing math right. It's just not calculating right. That's stupid. Whatever the case is, Jailton Almeida, he should have been on the main card. He is the first finish on the card so far this late, which is bad. In fact, actually, you know what? You know what? He would have been the first finish regardless had they kept him in his position. We would have had a finish to the main card. Okay, maybe it was smart. But whatever the case is, Jailton Almeida finished Alexander Fatboy Romanov. He just took him down, submitted him. Easy as that. Landed 2 strikes. Romanov had 1 strike on Jailton Almeida. Just made it look easy. Like that's exciting to me. I personally find finishes exciting, and when you have this guy just absolutely technically demolish this dude, I find that exciting. But I don't know, man. I just really think people just hate him for the Derek Lewis fight, and I think that the Derek Lewis and Curtis Blades fights are the only one of Jailton Almeida's fights to even watch, to be honest with you. But regardless, Jailton Almeida giving us our first finish of the night with a beautiful round 1 submission, which I had a ticket for, so I'm happy with that. Cesar Almeida versus Roman Kopylov was a pretty solid fight. I predicted though it would be a decision. I predicted though Cesar Almeida would get the decision, but Roman Kopylov got it. I predicted that Cesar Almeida would not be able to finish Kopylov, how tough he is, which I was correct. But Roman Kopylov, he landed some really good shots. He landed more powerful shots, even though Almeida did outstrike him, which is hence the split decision, and perfect evidence of so. The only reason you're really scoring the fight for Roman Kopylov, honestly, is just for the takedowns, which and the one knockdown, which I believe is around 2, if I can remember correctly. My brain's giving out on me. It's around 1. I'm stupid. Regardless, like, it's subjective. It's very subjective. It was a pretty decent fight though. Good kickboxing match, but Roman Kopylov kind of, I felt like he knew he was struggling to stand with Almeida later on, so he decided to go for the takedowns, which I said if Roman Kopylov were able to mix in the takedowns, that would be a good weapon for him. He just doesn't do them very often, but now he decided to. So decent fight. Randy Brown versus Zaleski. Okay, Randy Brown versus Zaleski Dos Santos. Fight went exactly how I thought it would. It went exactly how I thought it would. I'm surprised Zaleski Dos Santos had a good amount of takedowns, but for most part, Randy Brown just picked them apart from distance. Typical Randy Brown fight. Nothing more to say about it. Nico Price versus Alex Morono. I was wrong on this one. I thought Morono would knock out Price very easily, but I guess Morono is just worse than I thought. How Nico Price was just absolutely knocked out in 38 seconds by Robbie Lawler, I'll never know. Aging Robbie Lawler. Yeah, I know. Robbie Lawler had power way back in the day. Not now. Not a year ago, but oh well. Morono just looked very sloppy. Price was able to mix in the takedowns. He even like rocked them a few times with shots. It just was weird. I don't get it. Morono would land some really good shots on Price, and it just wouldn't matter to him. So his chin was, I guess, completely refreshed. And yeah, I hope you guys were happy that was on the main card. Kevin Holland, thank you for providing some excitement. Kevin Holland, Jailton Almeida, and then Islam and Dustin. You need to be thankful for these guys. These guys actually put on excitement. Thank you. Kevin Holland, he got dropped. He got rocked bad by Michal Oleńczyk, which surprised me. Then again, like I said, Kevin Holland sometimes fight like a dumbass. Like, his striking could be so good sometimes, but it could be so But he was able to fall back on that Brazilian black belt in jiu-jitsu. And Michal Oleńczyk completely forgot he had that, as did a lot of people. Kevin Holland was able to lock in that armbar, that nasty, brutal armbar. Now then, do I agree with the stoppage? I could say yes, because he was going to break his arm. But I'm of the notion that if Michal doesn't tap, let him suffer the consequences. I get it. The refs are supposed to be in there to defend the fighters from themselves, but the ultimate defense with Michal Oleńczyk, and honestly, is because he's gonna get in this scenario another point in his career, and he's not gonna tap. In fact, he's gonna be even more vehemently not wanting to tap. If he breaks his arm, he gets in a situation years later, yeah, he'll tap. Yeah, he'll take years off his career, but I don't know. I'm weird about it. I think if he didn't tap, don't tap. Like, there's still a slight chance he could have gone out there, like maybe 1%. I don't know. I'm weird. I'm a just bleed guy. I was an old just bleed guy. I'm sorry. I said Oh God, this fight did not need to be 5 rounds. And the Strickland fanboys came on and said, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? You don't want to see Strickland go to war for 5 rounds? This fight sucked. This fight was garbage. It was just as bad as I thought it was, which makes no sense because they landed 668 strikes and I still felt like I was going to fall asleep. It was so bad. It was so bad. I hated this fight. This is why I don't like Strickland. I don't get it. I don't give a damn about his antics outside the cage and he says crazy things. He says Izzy fucks his dog or whatever. I don't care. I don't pay money for that. I pay money to watch 2 men fight, not spar. That's the thing. This is a sparring match. Like, the fault is not entirely on Strickland because that's, at the end of the day, Strickland was just too good. Paulo Costa is just not on Strickland's level at all. So yeah, Strickland dominated him. But my problem with Strickland is he goes out here and says, I want a war. I want to kill a man in the ring. I want to bleed for you guys. There was no blood shed. Dana White shat on Dustin and Selecki, but there was bloodshed in this fight. In that fight, there was no bloodshed in the damn Strickland Costa fight. Costa was just so terrified of the counters and power of Strickland. When Strickland has no knockouts and honestly only split decisions, he doesn't even have unanimous. He has only split decisions. Costa was so terrified of his power, he just could never get going. And then by the time he wanted to get going, he'd already taken too many teeps in midsection, which gassed all the energy out of him. Costa was doing good with the leg kicks, but then he kept overcommitting to him, which Strickland kept checking. His body work was pretty decent, but at the end of the day, Costa, he just needed to be the bully he was back in the day. He needed to start throwing haymakers, just start going and blitzing, just big brothering Strickland. He didn't. And Strickland just had a technical kickboxing match and just pieced him apart for rounds. You all hate on Israel Adesanya. Sean Strickland is and has always, since he got into UFC, fought how Izzy and his championship run was. And even worse so. I thought this fight was deplorable. And the thing that was awful about this fight, this is top-ranked fighters. When you get top-ranked fighters, you're supposed to go, oh man, this is going to be epic. This should be like epic battles. You see the zenith of the sport. You should see the zenith of the sport. This is not the zenith of the sport, man. This is just sparring. Zenith of sparring. Strickland fights more excitingly sparring. I get it. You want to win. But the thing is, Strickland could have easily won and finish Costa. I said this about the Dricus du Plessis fight. Strickland could have won that fight, the Dricus du Plessis fight, had he literally tried to commit to finishing him. Strickland was going to win this fight regardless, but he could have won this fight and won a lot of fans if he just knocked out. He would have been an easier fight. Round 3, Costa had nothing left. He had nothing left. That was Strickland's best round till then. He landed 45 strikes. He could have just kept going. He could have just unloaded of 1-2 combos. Like he would do jab, teep, jab, teep. He could have jabbed 1-2, teep, high kick, jab, 1-2, jab. He could have just mauled Costa. He could have, but he decided not to. Done talking about that. Awful fight. Awful. All right, next, let's talk about the saving grace of the night. Not the only, but the saving grace of the night. An excellent, amazing fight between the legend Dustin Poirier and the now soon-to-be legend Islam Makhachev. His fight was great. This was great. This is everything you want from an actual 5-round title fight because it was non-stop action from start to finish with a finish. That's my favorite type of fight. When you have a 5-round battle and there is a finish at the end. That's why I love the Yuri Prohaska versus Glover Teixeira fight, which this had inklings of it. You had a grappler versus striker. This is the quintessential grappler versus striker matchup where they're both actually amazing at each and not bad at the other aspect. Dustin Poirier has never been a bad grappler. He's been a bad wrestler. But that's because of hips. If his hips weren't bad, oh man, oh boy, he'd be even better. He already is. That's the thing too. People kept saying, oh, Dustin's washed. Oh, it's going to be easy for Islam. Oh, he's done. He's washed. Dustin gave it everything he had until he went unconscious, and he was giving it everything he had. Dustin was not washed. There was that narrative going into Benoit Saint Denis fight. People say, oh, Islam beat a guy who everyone was saying was washed one fight ago. The people who are saying he was washed were freaking idiots. Freaking idiots. And also proving why Islam should have been a -600 favorite, and his line should have been set at 1.5 rounds. Easily went over 1.5 rounds. Even if he whooped them, it would have been over 1.5 rounds. I'm sorry, dude. We need to, I don't know what's wrong with these people, like these bookies and these fans or whatever. But this is a great showing. This is a great show from Islam Makhachev and Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier's takedown defense has been greatly enhanced, immensely enhanced. Honestly, he could be Charles Oliveira with this Dustin. His striking was still on point. He landed a really good jab that cut Islam Makhachev right at the start fight, though that could also have been due to the new gloves. He was just throwing some really good body work at points. More because Islam Makhachev, one of his best tools is going to be his tie pump clinch, which you would very easily get Dustin in. So Dustin would focus on trying to avoid the elbows from Islam and focus by railing shots to the stomach to gas him out, which was working very well. Which is why in the 5th round, Islam Makhachev had a lot of energy steamed out of him. Now, Islam Makhachev, on the other hand, did very well with his striking. His striking was so good. He outstruck Dustin. He was the better striker, landing at a 66% clip composed to Dustin's 48% clip. And you're like, oh, well, what about the total strikes? Islam had more strikes, 222 to 218. It was just such a good fight. Very, very, power shots from both guys. Islam's knees were very on point. That's how he busted open Dustin Poirier's nose with a bad knee. Now, but one thing, Dustin Poirier managed to land a nasty gash on Islam Makhachev. Oh, this is a finishing sequence. I'll get into that in a sec. He was able to land a nasty gash on Islam Makhachev, bloodying him up badly, and seen here. And that's just due to the veteran ability of Dustin Poirier and why I was just so impressed with his performance. But then Islam Makhachev, gassed out, tired, and exhausted, did a very unconventional ankle pick into a guillotine for position to get a Darce choke. That's just so poetically evil as well, too, that Dustin Poirier's 2 favorite submissions, well, he never got a guillotine, but he loves that submission, are the guillotine and Darce. People may not know it, but Dustin Poirier, he was a Darce guy. He would primarily go for Darce chokes all the time. They would call him the original Darce Knight. It went from him to Tony to Luque. But yes, Dustin, the original Darce Knight, got Darce choked in probably the last fight of his career. But regardless, a heck of a career it was. A heck of a fight it was. This is peak matchmaking as well, too. Sure, you can say Dustin didn't deserve this, and he kind of didn't, but he was the next best guy, and the next best guy put on such a good fight. That's the thing. When you get top lightweights, and this is why the lightweight division is the best division in the sport currently, because when you get top ranked lightweights who go up against each other, you get top fights. Islam Makhachev got a double bonus as well, too. Got performance of the night and fight of the night as well, too. And this is the reason why, too, I don't know if I want Dustin Poirier to retire, man. I don't know. Islam showed so much grit and determination. This is why I think Islam is by far the pound-for-pound best fighter. Dana White tried saying, no, it's John Jones. It's not freaking John Jones. John Jones has fought once in the last 4 years. That's not pound for pound best fighter. What are you on about? Pound for pound is a list of what you've done recently, not what you've done all time. You can say John Jones is the best fighter of all time, barring steroids at use and failed drug tests, but you're saying best fighter currently? In the last 4 years, Islam has fought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. 8 times. And of those, they've all been wins, so 8 wins, and only 1 fight went the distance, and it won Fight of the Year. Yes, of his last 8 fights, Islam has had 1 fight that went the distance, and it was a Fight of the Year. That's the best fighter out here right now. Islam is the pound for pound, And him not like, the thing is, a lot of people are saying, oh well, he can't be pound for pound. His first fight against a lightweight, and he didn't wash him. He proved how good he was by going 5 rounds and finishing the dude. He proved, and he won every round too, except for maybe round 4. But other than that, it was an excellent fight from Islam. It just solidifies that he can go these hard fights, these hard wars against tough elite opposition and get the finish. I just think it's very just dumb to discredit either man for this performance and to give any credit to someone like John Jones, who is not in there actually fighting, man. It's just, nah, man. And just one more peep of praise to Dustin. If this is his last fight, it's a good fight to go on. I'm greedy because, as you know, they won fight of the night. Dustin Poirier now is tied once again for Edson Barboza. Both of them, they cut Barboza just so Dustin can get this. But yes, they both are tied for 10 fight of the night bonuses. I want Dustin to have one more fight, preferably one he could win and be a good fight that he could get fight of the night. I think Volkanovski was saying he wants to fight him, which would be interesting. But also, if it's not Volkanovski as well too, like the Gaethje trilogy, like, I get it. He doesn't need to take that damage. He only wants to fight for the belt, but like, one more. I don't know. Regardless, if this is his final fight, it's a beautiful fight to go on. He got to go out wearing the gold gloves, his own custom floral shorts. Like, it was just sick. And he got to go out in a fight of night against the #1 best fighter in the world. Yeah, Dustin Poirier, he lost his last fight, if you want to say that. Who did he lose to? Oh, he lost to the pound for pound best fighter on the planet right now. Yeah. Just a magnificent fight. I could talk at length about this fight. I've probably talked about this fight more than I did the whole card, because the card otherwise was complete ass, and I blame a lot of it on fucking Sean Strickland. But yes, Islam Makhachev breaking records once again. He now has the longest win streak in lightweight history, the 3rd longest win streak in UFC history, and he is tied for most title defenses in UFC lightweight history. What do we want from Islam? I know Islam wants the double belt status, and I think he's earned it at this point. But what I truly want for him is I want him to go up against Arman Tsarukyan again and beat Arman Tsarukyan. I'm not counting him out. Tsarukyan definitely can win it. It's a winnable fight. It's just a very, I won't say winnable like it's easy. It's going to be a nightmare for Tsarukyan. That's going to be the hardest fight of his life. He can win. But I want to see Islam Makhachev break the record at lightweight. Then he can move up. I think that'd be excellent. And then honestly, if he wins that fight, defends once at welterweight, bro can retire. What would he be at? Would he be at the record? Say in theory that he beat Arman Tsarukyan, and then he beat Leon Edwards, and then he defended the title against someone else. Oh god, it'd be Shavkat. That's a hard fight. I think Leon Edwards is a hard fight, to be honest with you, as well, too. That's a very hard fight. But Shavkat, I think, is low-key a harder fight for Islam specifically. You might not believe this, but I think Leon Edwards could beat Shavkat. But regardless, if he does that, 17-fight win streak, longest win streak in the sport, double champ, simultaneous double champ, multiple title defenses, that's GOAT status. Get John Jones' face out of here. But regardless, amazing performance for Islam. Bright future. It hurts that his legacy had to be built on one of my favorite fighters, Dustin Poirier, but dude, you can't deny greatness. You can't deny legitimate greatness. This is legitimate greatness. The biggest names in the sport, Jones and fucking Connor, when it should not be. It should be Islam Makhachev, a guy who actually goes out there and fights. But yes, that has been my thoughts on UFC 302. What I think of the card, I genuinely do think it was trash. But it was trash with a bright, shining diamond right at the top with the amazing fight between Islam Makhachev and Dustin Poirier. I love that fight. Definitely one of my favorite fights to watch. Great fight to go back and watch. I already went back and rewatched it. It still holds up well with a beautiful submission attempt and a beautiful finish. So, all in all, this has been your boy Gomi. Bye-bye.